The Industrial Revolution happened because of inventions like the spinning jenny and the steam engine. In turn, the demands of growing industries spurred even greater advances in technology. By the late 1800s, advances in both industry and technology were occurring faster than ever before. In industrialized countries, economic growth produced many social changes. At the same time, a surge of scientific discovery pushed the frontiers of knowledge forward. In the early 1800s, coal and steam drove the machines of industry. By the late 1800s, new kinds of energy were coming into use. One was gasoline, which powered a new type of engine called an internal combustion engine. Small, light, and efficient, this engine would eventually make the automobile possible. Another kind of energy was the mysterious force called electricity. In the 1870s, the electric generator was developed, which produced a current that could power machines. This invention made it possible to bring the magic of electricity into daily life. If electricity seemed like magic to people in the 19th century, Thomas Edison was perhaps the century's greatest magician. Over his career, Edison patented more than 1,000 inventions, including the light bulb and the phonograph. Early in his career, Edison started a research laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey. Most of his important inventions were developed there, with help from the researchers he employed. Indeed, the idea of a laboratory for industrial research and development may have been Edison's most important invention. Other inventors helped harness electricity to transmit sounds over great distances. Alexander Graham Bell was a teacher of deaf students who invented the telephone in his spare time. The telephone used electricity to transmit sounds over great distances. The Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi used theoretical discoveries about electromagnetic waves to create the first radio in 1895. This device was important because it sent messages in code through the air, without the use of wires. Primitive radios soon became standard equipment for ships at sea. Not until later could radios transmit human voices. In the 1880s, German inventors used a gasoline engine to power a vehicle, the automobile. Automobile technology developed quickly, but since early cars were built by hand, they were expensive to buy and repair. An American mechanic named Henry Ford decided to make cars that were affordable for most people. The way to make automobiles is to make them all alike, he said, just as one pin is like another when it comes from the pin factory. To build his cars alike, Ford used standardized, interchangeable parts. He also built them on an assembly line, a line of workers who each put a single piece on unfinished cars as they passed on a moving belt. Assembly line workers could put together an entire Model T Ford in less than 2 hours. When Ford introduced this plain, black, reliable car in 1908, it sold for $850. As his production costs fell, Ford lowered the price. Eventually, it dropped to less than $300, well within the reach of the middle class. Other factories adopted Ford's ideas. By 1914, more than 600,000 cars were traveling around on the world's roads. Two bicycle mechanics from Dayton, Ohio, named Wilbur and Orville Wright, solved the age-old riddle of flight. On December 17, 1903, they flew a gasoline-powered flying machine at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The longest flight that day lasted only 59 seconds, but it was enough to begin a whole new industry of aircraft. In earlier periods, art, music, and most theater had been largely the concern of the wealthy. This group had the money, leisure time, and education to enjoy high culture. It was not until about 1900 that people could speak of mass culture, or the appeal of art, writing, music, and other forms of entertainment to a much larger audience. There were several causes for the rise of mass culture around the turn of the century. First, the spread of public education increased literacy in both Europe and North America. This, in turn, provided a mass market for books, newspapers, and magazines. Improvements in communications made it possible to meet the broad demand for information and entertainment. For example, new high-speed presses duplicated thousands of pages in a few hours. They made publications cheaper and easier to produce. The invention of the phonograph and records brought music directly into people's homes. Working people now had more time for leisure pursuits. By 1900, most industrial countries had limited the working day to 10 hours. Most people worked Monday through Friday and a half day on Saturday. This 5.5 day work week created the weekend, a special time for relaxation. More leisure time in evenings and on weekends allowed workers to take part in activities that their grandparents never had time to enjoy. A popular leisure activity was a trip to the local music hall. On a typical evening, a music hall might offer a dozen or more different acts. It might feature singers, dancers, comedians, jugglers, magicians, acrobats, and even trained parakeets. In the United States, musical variety shows were called vaudeville. Vaudeville acts traveled from town to town, appearing at theaters with names such as the Gaiety, the Grand, and the Orpheum. During the 1880s, several inventors worked at trying to record and project moving images. One successful design came from France. Another came from Thomas Edison's laboratory. The earliest motion pictures caused a sensation only because of their novelty. They were black and white, lasted less than a minute, and had no plot. One of Edison's first films, for example, showed nothing but a man sneezing. By the early 1900s, filmmakers were producing the first feature films. Movies quickly became big business. By 1910, 5 million Americans attended some 10,000 theaters each day to watch silent movies. The European movie industry experienced similar growth. With new time at their disposal, ordinary people began to enjoy all kinds of sports and outdoor activities. For every person who played sports, even more enjoyed watching them. Spectator sports now became entertainment for many. In the United States, football and baseball soared in popularity. In Europe, the first professional soccer clubs formed and drew big crowds. For example, 120,000 fans turned out to watch a 1913 match in England. Favorite English sports, such as cricket, spread to the British colonies of Australia, India, and South Africa. As a result of the growing interest in sports, the International Olympic Games began in 1896. They revived the ancient Greek tradition of holding an athletic competition among countries every 4 years. Fittingly, the first modern Olympics took place in Athens. The scientific revolution of the 1600s had established the scientific method as a reliable road to knowledge about the natural world. Scientists continued to use the scientific method to gain new insights into all aspects of the physical world. The scientific method also began to produce practical results, such as new medicine and technology, that helped to improve life in industrialized nations. An important breakthrough in the history of medicine was the germ theory of disease. It was developed by French chemist Louis Pasteur in the mid-1800s. While examining the fermentation process of alcohol, Pasteur discovered that it was caused by microscopic organisms he called bacteria. He also learned that heat killed bacteria. This led him to develop the process of pasteurization to kill germs in liquids such as milk. Soon it became clear to Pasteur and others that bacteria also caused diseases. A British surgeon named Joseph Lister read about Pasteur's work. He thought germs might explain why half of all surgical patients died of infections. In 1865, he ordered that his surgical wards be kept spotlessly clean. He insisted that wounds be washed in antiseptics, or germ-killing liquids. As a result, 85% of Lister's patients survived. Soon, other hospitals began to follow Lister's standards of cleanliness. Public officials, too, began to understand that cleanliness helped prevent the spread of disease. Cities built plumbing and sewer systems and took other steps to improve public health. Meanwhile, medical researchers developed vaccines or cures for such deadly diseases as typhus, typhoid fever, diphtheria, and yellow fever. These advances helped people live longer, healthier lives. A major scientific question that interested people in the 1800s was how to explain the tremendous variety of plants and animals on Earth. The most widely accepted answer prior to the 1800s was the idea of special creation. According to this view, every kind of plant and animal had been created by God at the beginning of the world, and had remained the same since then. The theory of special creation was challenged in the mid-1800s by Charles Darwin, an English biologist. Based on his research, Darwin developed a theory that all forms of life, including human beings, evolved from earlier living forms that had existed millions of years ago. In 1859, Darwin published his thinking in a book titled The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. According to the idea of natural selection, populations tend to grow faster than the food supply, and so must compete for food. The members of a species that survive are those that are fittest, or best adapted to their environment. These surviving members of a species produce offspring that share their advantages. Gradually, over many generations, the species may change. In this way, new species evolve. Darwin's idea of change through natural selection came to be called the theory of evolution. Darwin's ideas sparked great controversy. Among scientists, his theories created great excitement. For many, however, Darwin's ideas challenged their views about the world. The idea of evolution directly contradicted the account of creation in the Bible. Darwin's argument that humans descended from apes was especially difficult for many people to accept for religious and moral reasons, and many newspapers and books criticized Darwin. The cartoon shown here from an 1871 newspaper mocks Darwin by showing him with the body of an ape. Even today, well over 100 years after The Origin of Species was first published, Darwin's ideas are still controversial. Although Darwin said that living things passed on their variations from one generation to the next, he did not know how they did so. In the 1850s and 1860s, an Austrian monk named Gregor Mendel discovered that there is a pattern to the way that certain traits are inherited. Although his work was not widely known until 1900, Mendel's work began the science of genetics. Later, biologists discovered genes, the units of living matter that carry traits from parents to offspring. In 1803, the British chemist John Dalton developed the atomic theory, the idea that all matter is made of tiny particles called atoms. Dalton showed that elements contain only one kind of atom, which has a specific weight. Compounds, on the other hand, contain more than one kind of atom. In 1869, Dmitry Mendeleev, a Russian chemist, organized a chart on which all the known elements were arranged in order of weight, from lightest to heaviest. He left gaps where he predicted that new elements would be discovered. Later, his predictions proved correct. Mendeleev's chart, called the periodic table, is still used by scientists today. A husband and wife team working in Paris discovered two of the missing elements. Marie and Pierre Curie found that a mineral called pitchblende released a powerful form of energy. In 1898, Marie Curie gave this energy the name radioactivity. The Curies discovered two new elements that they named radium and polonium. Both were highly radioactive. In 1903, the Curies shared the Nobel Prize for Physics for their work on radioactivity. In 1911, Marie won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry for the discovery of radium and polonium. Physicists around 1900 tried to unravel the secrets of the atom. Earlier scientists believed that the atom was the smallest particle that existed. A British physicist named Ernest Rutherford suggested that atoms were made up of yet smaller particles. Each atom, he said, had a nucleus surrounded by one or more particles called electrons. Soon other physicists were studying the structure and energy of atoms. Their discoveries would pave the way for incredible new discoveries in the 20th century. The scientific theories of the 1800s prompted scholars to study human society and behavior in a scientific way. Interest in these fields grew enormously during that century as global expeditions produced a flood of new discoveries about ancient civilizations and world cultures. This interest led to the development of modern social sciences, such as archaeology, anthropology, and sociology. One of the most important new social sciences was psychology, the study of the human mind and behavior. The Russian biologist Ivan Pavlov broke new ground in psychology with a famous experiment in the early 1900s. Ordinarily, a dog's mouth waters at the smell of food. Pavlov began ringing a bell each time he gave food to a dog. Eventually, the dog learned to associate the bell with food. Each time the bell rang, the dog salivated, even if no food was present. Pavlov concluded that an animal's reflexes could be changed or conditioned through training. He also applied these findings to humans. He believed that human actions were often unconscious reactions to experiences and could be changed by training. Another pioneer in psychology, the Austrian doctor Sigmund Freud, also believed that the unconscious mind drives how people think and act. In Freud's view, unconscious forces such as suppressed memories, desires, and impulses help shape behavior. He created a type of therapy called psychoanalysis to help people deal with the psychological conflicts created by these forces. Freud's theories became very influential. However, his idea that the mind was beyond conscious control also shocked many people. The ideas of Freud and Pavlov challenged the fundamental idea of the Enlightenment that reason was supreme. The new ideas about psychology began to shake the 19th century faith that humans could perfect themselves and society through reason.